How are you? Good. Good.
Doing good? Yes, sir. All right.
Okay, off we go. Welcome to a Monday of after a bye week, which actually had some kind of interesting stuff happen in it. As we talk about kind of injuries first, let's go ahead and take care of that part of it. You know, we're able to get some guys back, which is huge. You know, Sam Braylow at tackle will be back. Jordan Finley still won't be back, but he's a lot closer than what we anticipated. Loving Good should be back, and we should be able to get some things out of Schlager this week. So that's a good thing. You know, in our last practice, we had the misfortune of losing Jake Bennett, be probably out for the season, which obviously now you get a guy back and then you lose a guy. So we're going to need to do some shuffling within the offensive line. Kevin O'Brien, who's been kind of the backup there, is a guy that will move up on the depth chart at center. There may be some adjustment now with Tyler being back and now able to actually move Callender back inside where he's been. Trey Moxley, who has gotten some really good reps at tackle now, feel good about him on both sides. So that would move Fred over to center should that occur. Right now, the actual which way we'll go into this game is kind of yet to be determined a little bit because it happened in such a short time. But we'll get that worked out, today, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then into a perfect Thursday, and then set it kind of forward from there. So, it's one of those freak things that, you run the same drill 10,000 times in your career and just, plan it wrong, and it's a shame. But Jake will come back. He's a tough guy, and, he's got a bright future here, obviously.
You said probably for the year. Is he going to need surgery?
Yeah, we think so. Let's be realistic on that. He probably won't be back. I'll never give up hope. And yet at the same time, we've got a plan that's the way it's going to be.
Was it a non-contact drill that he was going through?
No, it was just normal team run, that just happens. So, now comes the time you just, hey, that's part of the game, as we all know, and so we just need to move forward.
Has he had surgery yet, or is that
No.
Will be scheduled down the road?
Yeah, I'll be scheduled down the road. Yeah.
Do you know more? Is it like an ACL or?
He got a bad knee bone, so, and it's usually connected to the thigh bone. The thigh bone's connected to the hip bone. That's about it. So.
I know you still have to look at who's going to play center. Are you more inclined? Because Dave was in last week, said just how great Jake was playing. Was also very impressed with Fred at guard. You have Moose who's played center, and you've had Kevin who's got some experience there. So
Right.
What's going to be kind of the deciding factor that you look at is whether or not you actually want to move Fred out of position?
Some of it is, to see how far Sambo's come and when we get into full practice, too, as far as that part goes. Because you get into that, do you move three parts to affect one? I'm getting at where some guys have got pretty good comfort playing those spots. And so that's kind of something we've got to determine a little bit. And, it actually, might be honest with you, could be a week-to-week kind of decision based on the type of defense you're playing. And so there's some of that to be said, too.
Is Nick maybe your first option if you were to move Fred from guard to center?
Yeah, into guard, you're saying? Yeah, that'd be something that we were doing anyway prior to, Sambo going down play 4 of that first game. So, it's not that we haven't practiced those parts. Yeah, so that's a good thing about developing depth.
And you did say it kind of depends on how far Sambo's back. Are you not locked in with him? You're not sure he's starting this week?
Well, I'm sure he will.
Okay.
At the same time, he's missed pretty significant part. And if it's one of those deals where, okay, he goes the first 2 series, then you know what I'm getting at, whether it's a 2-1-2 rotation, those are things that we've got to find out kind of based on going through a full week of practice. I think that's pretty important to kind of check.
Is it an ACL for sure?
Yeah, it's something that's not good. So, yeah.
Is that, I'm not being.
Yeah, I hear you. It's it's enough that he's probably gone for the season. So, I guess that it's not MCL. It's not, there's some bone bruise in there too, and I'm not sure that it doesn't have to settle a little bit before you redo the MRI, from what I understand, to exactly see the damage. And then once you get in there is where sometimes, I guess, is where it figures out really all the things that are not there.
You've gone from one season where last year you played the same 5 guys.
Yeah, how about that?
This year you come in with a young one. A season would be really important to kind of keep them together.
Yeah.
How have they handled the flux?
Well, I think that, that's one of the great lessons that you learn in life is how do you deal with adversity? And more is learned through adversity than it is through triumph. And, in this case, this is another step back or setback, and yet if you let it be a setback, then you know what? You got issues. So, going into this game against obviously a defense that ranks nationally in a bunch of different categories, and it's not like they haven't played nobody. They have legitimate statistics both offensively and defensively with some really good players that, we've got our work cut out for us, and it's an opportunity to go play a really good team on the road that has made some noise, and we'll see what happens when we get there.
Is this a week where the versatility, though, that you guys have developed on that line, where almost everybody can play multiple spots, really could help, because you can really just find the 5 best guys instead of finding the 2 best tackles, 2 best guards?
It's interesting. One of the things you learn when you're, part of an NFL team is, you're usually only carrying active, sometimes even 7, 8 guys, on that line. Very rarely do you even get 9. And the ability to make sure that those guys can play and be interchangeable parts at certain things is something that really helps you. And that's one of the things we've tried to do even last year when our guys stayed healthy. We had a lot of guys changing parts in practice, what included Weston playing some tackle, when we needed to, in practice, just in case that might happen. So that's why you do that. And, we're fortunate that we do it that way.
Well, is Jordan Benson back all the way yet?
Not yet. Not yet. He's been, a little bit, but he'll be practicing this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one guy you didn't mention injury, what? Kevin Davis.
Oh, yeah, Kevin. I'm sorry. Kevin's back. I mean, they created whatever. They got rid of the starships in the galaxy that was floating around in his shoulder, and he had a full week of practice last week, so he's ready to roll.
How nice is it to have him back, a guy who's so versatile at linebacker, considering the type of quarterback and rushing attack?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You look at explosive plays, and it's one thing they've been able to generate, and they generate it. Part of it, with that guy on the fly sweeps at number 6, that I think is an integral part into what they're doing, and then also obviously, a quarterback that once he gets into space, Tyler Murphy's a tough guy to bring down, and that's one of the obvious things you see on film. And even when some guys have them kind of measured up, and yet, there's a reason the guy started out at the University of Florida. I mean, he's that kind of athlete, and what they have done a great job of offensively is fit the attack to help, to showcase his ability. And he just looks more comfortable with every game. It's one of those deals that you're kind of watching. You can just see his confidence and the confidence in the people around him, and how they're using some other guys within that offense. Number 8, that H-back, whatever. I think they list him as a wideout. But, He's a former quarterback, and he's the guy. It's funny when you think back to some of Florida's offenses. You know, that guy that's that, you know, shuffle pass guy on the inside, kind of does all the dirty work. It was Trey Burton or somebody like that. I can't remember the guy's name. He was from Naples. It was a former quarterback that kind of became that kind of piece, you know, in there. And how they're using him is kind of interesting.
Do you really, if you look traditionally at Boston College, that's a power run offense, and their quarterback's a pocket kind of guy.
Well, this is a whole new element. Yeah.
Do you find it interesting how they've kept tradition and mixed in something completely opposite to make it kind of work?
Well, you know, I mean, they're running the old speed option shuffle based on what the defense does. I mean, they're doing things that you know, they did back that the head coach did back in the, you know, Florida's offense when they had Tebow, and there's a lot of similarities from some of the things that they're doing from that standpoint. But if you'll remember, that was based on downhill runs, and they're still doing that. You know, with a guy obviously that can beat you in space. So it goes back to the having to defense the 12th man, so to say, because he's not only a thrower, he's a runner, he's a weapon, and you know, you've got to be able to. What you can't let happen is the explosive plays that, you know, all of a sudden here it goes.
What did you guys do against Tebow, and how did you do? I'm not.
Yeah, no, you know, first year we played him there. You know, we had some pretty good defenders too, and but he willed the team to win in the first game we played him in the SEC championship. I mean, he beat us with his arm. We were able to catch him a little bit on some turnovers and stuff that the second two times we played him, and you know, did a great job of the guy's going to make plays, but eliminating those oh my God plays, you know, those big ones, and that's what we're going to have to do defensively. We've got our work cut out for us because they are big. I mean, up front they're big. They're physical. We got to hold the point of attack, and our linebackers have to make some plays in space.
You're going on Thursday. This is a significant road trip for these guys, probably the longest one
Yeah.
ever made. Have you driven that home?
Yeah, you know, I'm really looking forward to that part from the standpoint of an educational standpoint to, you know, see where, you know, a lot of our country was formed, you know, and a part of the country where, you know, there's some other things, not just the football, that we can expose some guys to that have never been there, me included. And by going on Thursday with the time change, a lot of people do that when they make the trek that way. I think that it's something that helps you, especially with the game time being a 12:30 tip Eastern, I think it is, which is actually 10:30 in the morning, I guess, our time. I'm trying to do the math here. But you know, getting our guys acclimated. You know, I actually spoke with Mike, you know, McIntyre, who went back and did it a couple weeks ago when they played UMass, just to kind of compare notes on you know, kind of the how and the differences, you know, from being back there, and he was very helpful on that. And so we'll get an opportunity to go do our Friday walkthrough at the Patriots facility, which, you know, is it's nice to have some friends in certain places, and that they're going to give us some time to be able to go to do that. I think, you know, I'm excited about that too, and our guys should be too.
Why would you walk through there instead of alumni?
Just kind of we've got some time on Friday. You know, we'll have some guys doing some studying and possibly some, you know, proctored tests and those types of things. But I just think anytime you can take a trip like this and expose your organization to as many things as you can, I think that's important in the educational process. And this is one of those deals I think it'd be good, you know, for our guys to see.
Do you have something historical planned for them too, considering the city you're going to?
Clam chowder.
Real clam chowder.
So you're not taking them down the Freedom Trail or anything?
No, no.
Okay.
Let them walk Bunker Hill. And then
Yeah.
9 steps of Bunker Hill.
That's it.
But what did you try to get done the bye week, and did you get it done other than
You know, I thought we did some really good things as far as some things that are going to pop up both offensively and defensively later in the year. You know, you try to make sure you're not just focusing on the first opponent that's coming up, but actually some things that some other teams, you know, within the conference that we're going to have to play. You know, we get an opportunity to at least introduce, re-practice from what we did in the spring, fall camp here, so when we get into the prep week, it isn't a big shock. So those are good things. And then, you know, we actually got a lot done with some young guys, just seeing them play, because they haven't been able to play since the second scrimmage of fall camp, you know, where we've kind of had them out doing some things, and that's always fun.
What have you noticed in your run defense made great strides last year? It's step back a bit this year. As you head into this game, what did you kind of focus on last week? What are you liking? What is
Well, you know, defeating the power play is something that we've got to get better at, and part of that is we're not running it as much as we did in the past offensively, so they don't see it as often. Goods on goods, if you know what I'm getting at, and it's about how to fit, you know, some of those guard pull runs and that kind of thing, and making sure the gaps are sound, which is something we overran in the Boise game. I'm sure these guys are licking their chops looking at that, saying, you know what, we got a chance to set an NCAA rushing record against this outfit coming in here, and you know, based on their numbers. Third in rushing offense, 336 yards a game. Interesting.
You guys were a pretty good run defense last year, though. I mean, what are
Yeah.
the things you're seeing that just aren't happening so far this year that you were upset about in the Boise State game?
Well, I think just the fits and the wrap-up at the point of attack and attacking the pullers, something we got to get better at, and defeating double teams, which is the hardest thing there is, you know, to do, especially when you get some big old guys leaning on you. You know, we've just got to continue to keep working on it, and then some of the fits from the safety standpoint, which were done well at times, didn't show up later in that Boise game as well, and you know, it's something that we're going to see as season wears on. I mean, there's teams we play that's our bread and butter, so we've got to get better at it.
Is this a real key game for that secondary, in that you've gotten a lot of the pass coverage issues you were worried about seem to be getting better, but now you're against a team where you're going to need them a lot more in run support, maybe because those guys are very good in run support. How do you make sure they kind of keep the pass first mentality so they don't get beat deep because they're worried about that quarterback taking off?
Well, and the play action part that these guys do such a great job of, you know, because you got to focus, and all of a sudden it's pulling over your head, you know. And but there again, that becomes discipline and paying attention to the detail of what you need to do to play your position and do your job. So I think a lot of that has to be, you know, the film study and tendencies and those type of things as we get into, you know, the prep for these guys.
what did Jim? I was almost in the mirror there. What did Mike McIntyre tell you about going east?
You know, he talked about, you know, because they went on Thursday and just kind of how they did it, tried to do as much from a game time standpoint once you kind of got there, you know, as far as, you know, the leave and then the downtime that has occurred, which we'll be able to take, you know, there's some academic things that we'll have assigned during certain times of that day, you know, that are important. Obviously, it's hard for someone coming from here to adapt to the humidity, which is something we need to kind of prepare ourselves for, and never quite realized how you kind of do that. But there's some things that will definitely be different, and really the acclimating yourself to the time change and the specifics of when the game is really kind of important as well. So.
How is this different? Because last year you guys did Hawaii, you went the day before the game, treated it like any other game. That was a 4-hour time change, but it was the other direction. Is that the biggest difference?
Is going east
Which
rather than
direction you're
going
going?
west. As you guys have traveled, you know it's a lot easier when you go the other way because it's earlier. You know, there we're going to get there, you know, and have a whatever time arrival, and then try to get yourself into bed and those type of things for an early morning wake up on Friday. You know, it's different, and so we just and believe me, it's not. Look, that's not an excuse. You got to go win a game. I mean, that's the way it is. But I think any way you can help adapt to that is something that's beneficial. You know, this was a late scheduled game. You know, obviously this week we would have been going to UTEP, I guess, right, before they bought out of the game to go to Kansas State. So, and it'll be. I think it's great for our program, and there's a lot of fans that live out there. They're going to get an opportunity to see the Rams, and that's pretty cool.
Are you going to do Perfect Thursday here first?
Yeah, we'll do everything here first, and then do our one reel and some things that we do normally Thursday after practice once we get there.
Okay.
So.
Did it impact any of the planning part of this, not knowing the kickoff time until last week?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, there.
Certainly, normally you've
Yep.
got a lot of time to kind of arrange
Yep.
things. Is there a lot of scrambling as far as setting meal time or eating time, stuff like
And
that right now?
and trying to set some things on the actual kick time, you know, is really important, and yet, you know, we were able to kind of tackle some of those once we found out last week.
Is that why you call McIntyre? Because they also had to play the early morning game. I mean, if you were playing at 7, would it?
Well, you know, this is something that you know, in our profession, you exchange ideas, and people do, you know, just get thoughts as far as, you know, the how, and having, you know, in this case, they just went through it a couple weeks ago. Kind of, is there anything you'd change, or, you know what I'm getting at? And really, it was more of a confirmation call than it was anything else.
Do you think the west to east thing had something to do with, you know, their defeat of USC? Because that's an even greater, you know, 3-hour difference.
Well, looked at the game, BC just got after their tail, you know, and I'm not sure there was a lot that they could do about it. I think they showed what kind of team they are, and you know that's pretty daunting because obviously SC is a pretty good ball squad, and so to see how they dominated and stayed in there even after kind of a quick kind of a lead, you know, that they were able to put up. I think it speaks volumes for, you know, what they've done there and the attitude that they play with. So it's a good football team we're playing.
The big differences you saw between their game against Pittsburgh and their game against Southern Cal, because I watched both those games and they looked like a different team almost out there against Southern Cal.
Well, I think there was a certain energy and electricity in that stadium. You know, I think that they fed off of maybe. You know, Pitt had a couple plays that were, you know, I mean, they were great plays that they made that normally maybe, you know, they had guys in position. But you know, that's kind of a historic rivalry, you know, that game itself. So I'm not sure that one, you don't throw the records out a bit too. You know, I mean, that one goes back to, you know, a long time, that BC Pitt
I
game.
just wasn't sure if there were any like significant changes you noticed or ways they did things different.
I think the comfort in the quarterback.
Getting more used
You know
to
what
the
I mean?
system, what this guy can do.
Yeah, exactly. So.
ACC rivalry.
Yeah, how about that? Doesn't sound right, does it?
Sound right.
I mean, I was sitting there in my mind thinking, there's something wrong with that, isn't there?
I know Murphy's caught everybody's attention, but it sounds just equally as impressed with the way that they're playing on the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, yeah. Boy, they've it's number 25, and guys, forgive me for not reciting. I get caught up in jersey numbers when you watch film, but just that guy, I think he has 3 sacks, but he's a guy that has created chaos with his play for opponents, and how physical they are, on the inside as far as holding those double teams and allowing some guys to make plays is pretty impressive. Mike, linebacker 52, is a guy that shows up quite a bit. He had the interception early on a pass drop, but in one of the games. But at the same time, he's a guy that fills the inside. He's a thumper, and I can see that they've done a good job with their personnel.
It was against Boise. You thought their physical defensive front
Took it to us. Yeah.
Took it to. Nice to have had. Obviously, it wasn't nice the way it turned out, but nice to have had.
No, really kind of miserable.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Heading into this one, so they have an idea of what they're going up against.
Well, as they watch the video, as they get more in tune to this week's prep, there'll be a heightened awareness at the level and quickness that they're going to have to play, and they can't be slow to trigger. I'm talking offensively. We can't be slow to trigger.
Is that a concern, considering the guy that was making your line calls all year is not going to be making your line calls this week?
It does, but you also have 2 centers on both sides of him. If I'm getting at. I mean, I don't look at it as much. It's a great loss. Don't get me wrong, because he was playing well, but with that being said, the guys in there now, they've played enough to know it's time. So.
You talked about this being kind of a late addition, obviously, because U10 fought their way out. How much did the Under Armour connection between the 2 schools help make this happen?
I think there's some to that, and yet and they're going to be there in force. The people from Under Armour, which is good, and but sometimes in scheduling, those parts kind of fall into place, and there was a need on their end, and obviously a need on our end, and our opportunity to go play a team in the ACC is something I'm kind of looking forward to.
Is this somewhat of we talked about before the Boise game, it was like we'll find out how good we are.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel a little bit about that here?
Yeah, I think it's a great test, and obviously based on what they have done and the production of their numbers, both offensively and defensively, it's a team. I'm sure they're sitting there saying, hey, look, this is a ball squad from the Mountain West Conference coming all the way over here. Let's just get out of this one and get ready for conference. I don't know. And yet they'll get prepared and be ready to play. I think they played. I don't think they played outside of the state of Massachusetts yet. I think they because they played UMass at UMass's place, and obviously all their games now have been at home. So you talk about a stark contrast. Have we been home yet? Thanks, guys.
And how was Chubby's?
It was awesome. The original. Let's not. It's on 287, which is federal.
Always ready.
Are you back?
Yeah, for the most part. I'm going to be working in this week, getting back into it. I should be good to go for the game, so looking forward to getting back out there.
From your perspective, you played on an offensive line last year where all 5 of you started every game. This week, you're going to probably have a third starting lineup on your offensive line. How difficult is that to kind of deal with?
It's just another challenge. We're faced with those every week, regardless of who's playing. It's always a challenge, and it's just something different and something new. We got to go attack.
How hard is it going to be, though, to fill in for losing your center?
That is a tough position. I think out of all of the positions on the line, the center is a key position in terms of making calls and making points. But we got a lot of smart players who know the offense, and they can step right in and make the same calls and do the same job, I think, as Jake did.
What was your reaction when Jake went down?
I was upset. That was really hard to see. In a bye week, it's one of those things that just kind of happened, and we try to avoid it, but it's part of the game. Seeing him get hit though was pretty tough to watch as a fellow offensive lineman and as a teammate. And I'm sure he's going to bounce back from whatever happened, and he's going to be come back stronger.
How strong are you now?
I'm feeling
All
good.
the way back, or
Yeah,
is there still a little bit of tenderness, timidness there?
I'm feeling 100%. Obviously, you want to be a little more on the cautious side throughout the week, but I feel 100% and I feel good to go.
Did you kind of spend your cautious side last week during the bye week?
I did.
Yeah.
I did a few team periods, but for the most part, I was just doing individual stuff, kind of staying out of situations where I may not be in control of what's around my leg.
What's it like for a player to be going to play Boston College after what they did to Southern Cal? They kind of got themselves a lot more national attention.
That's exciting. I root for every team we play. If we play teams that are winning, that's what we want. We want to play good competition, and we want to compete with the best. So to see them go out there and knock off the number 9 team, that was exciting, and that gets us a little more fired up to go play some really good quality ACC competition.
It's going to be strange to travel on a Thursday. I mean, you guys did Hawaii on a normal travel
Yeah.
day, and now here you are going East Coast today. Right?
I don't think it's any different because it's all the same process. You get on the plane and mentally you kind of get into the same mode, every week. And then we're doing our walkthrough there, and that'll be, same thing. You just get your mind right and do what you do.
About doing the walkthrough at the Patriots' place.
That's pretty exciting. It's a lot of what we do as college football players is about the experiences, and I think that's just another one we can add to the list that we got to take part in something cool like that.
And then you didn't get to play against Boise State, but that was a pretty physical defensive front.
Yeah.
What were the lessons learned from that game that you'll need to apply against another good defensive front this week?
Yeah, I think in watching that game, we kind of noticed that we were maybe a little too much lateral and not enough downhill. Our blocks are kind of skating instead of getting vertical, so I think that's something we're going to work on, is making sure our second step gets upfield and we start driving vertical instead of just going lateral. Backside of zone, I think, is a big thing that we need to work on in terms of getting that backside cut off in order to make that cut. They got some big guys in their front 7. Obviously, we have some size on our line, so I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue. We just got to make sure we're disciplined with our feet.
On the personal level, you saw how hard Jake worked to succeed Weston and waiting a year and stepping in. I mean, how do you feel for him?
I'm torn. That it's always hard to see any of your players get hurt, and honestly, any player playing at any level. When you see someone go down with a significant injury, regardless of who it is or what team they're on, it hurts because you know what they go through and you know the amount of work they put in to get to where we are and to do what we do. And especially for Jake, because I know him obviously well. That was a tough one, but he's a tough kid, so I know that about him. So he's going to be just fine. it's just part of the game. It sucks, but it's what it is.
Do you feel this team, it seems like maybe it's every team every year, there's certain position groups that just injuries are rough on. This year it seems to be the O-line, starting with the spring drills.
Yeah, I mean, we wear knee braces for a reason, I guess. We're in a pretty, high danger area where a lot of stuff's going on around our legs that we really don't know or see. So our position is a little bit more, out of our control, I guess. But it's really just, it all depends on what's going on. I guess the biggest thing you can do as a lineman to avoid being injured or seriously injured is just keep moving your feet. Because it's when your feet are planted and you're stopped is kind of when bad things tend to happen. So that's kind of what we do, but some things are just unavoidable. That's just the nature of the game.
Do you feel like you get to rejoin an offense that's starting to catch its stride after the way they played against UC Davis?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get back out there and contribute and help us get back on what we were doing and what we've been doing. It's been tough not being able to play. That's been tough to sit and watch, I guess. But I'm excited to kind of take that pent up, excitement and go out there and get after it.
What are some of the nuances of the center position for most folks that haven't played that position?
Yeah.
Compare it to being a guard or tackle. What you got to know?
Yeah, the center comes up and he declares the front, and then he makes our mic point. So all of our protections and run schemes go off of his mic point usually. So it's you need a little more knowledge of what the scheme is, I guess, than maybe a guard or center or tackle could get away with. But I'm pretty confident in all of our players and all of the positions that we know the offense through and through. And if we all had to make calls, we could. But that's kind of that's their role. And obviously being consistent and snapping the ball. That's a big thing. Ball security is always something we try to focus on.
Do you like the versatility of your line and what it's had to shown to kind of deal with blow by blow?
Yeah. Versatility is good no matter what you do in life. The more you can do, the more you add, more value you add. So, I like that we have a lot of guys that can do a lot of things, and that just shows a lot of, their athleticism and their ability to learn this offense.
Ty, you've started every position except center for CSU. Is this the week you try to make time for that one too?
If I need to play center, I can go in and play center. I'm pretty confident I could do that if I needed to, but I think we have some better fit,
Some other guys.
some better fit players for that position. It's tough to shift around, I guess, and it's not necessarily playing a new position, but it's just the injuries. Seeing someone get hurt is kind of a struggle, but we all know that when it's your turn to step up, you do it and you play.
So your polite way of saying thanks, but no thanks.
No. If that was my job for this week, I would do it, and I would do best I could doing it. But I don't foresee myself being a center this week. If something happens, I could step in if I needed to, but it's not my position for this week, I guess, at this point.
Geeky question. Have you ever been to Boston before? Is there any part of you that's looking forward to just that part?
I went to Boston when I was, I think, 11 or 12, so I don't really remember too much of it. I remember it was a pretty cool city. I'm excited to go and kind of just change the scenery, be on the East Coast, and I really enjoy playing away games. I like playing in an atmosphere where people are excited about football, even if it's not really for us, I guess. So it's always fun to go out and get booed at and do all that kind of stuff. It's exciting.
Is your family going 3,000 miles?
My parents are. I think this game was scheduled 2 years ago or so, and this was the one that they wanted to make sure they're going to. And I think they're going to the Red Sox Yankees game. I think they're going to one of those games, so they're pretty excited.
So you get to
Nice.
see them at all?
My parents?
Yeah.
I think so. I think they'll probably stop by the hotel and say hi. But it's all business, so it's going to be a quick hello and goodbye and back to work.
Anything else? Yes.
Thanks, Ty.
No problem.
Nice to see you back.
Yeah, nice to be back.
They're going to the baseball game.
We are. We're going to the Friday night.
How's the management class going?
Good. Had a test.
You had a test?
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Felt good. Yep.
It's because you were prepared, right? So the test was easy.
Yep.
Where have I heard that before?
Just like you knew that. Just wait. He's right. All right. Go ahead.
How much video you watched of Tyler Murphy, and how do you try to slow him down?
Definitely, we watched a lot of film on him already. It was good having a extra week under our belts, and yeah, he's definitely impressive, and we're excited to compete against that offense.
How impressive?
He's pretty fast. So.
When you consider what Boise State and Grant Hedrick were able to do, and you see that he can do those same things at a faster speed, what do you have to change? What different approach do you have to take with Murphy?
Oh yeah, we definitely have to. We watched some of our negative plays of the Boise game and got those corrected because we cannot we can't let up on this guy. As you guys saw last week, he had some good runs, and the week before that. So yeah, we definitely can't have any mental errors and breakdowns, and we just got to keep him contained.
Have you ever played a team before with a quarterback serving a rusher?
No, I have not.
Yeah, but even Air Force in recent years hasn't been that way.
I don't think. Yeah, no.
Do you worry about him more with his feet than his arm?
Well, he has more rushing yards than passing yards this season, so we're definitely we need to force him to throw. So that's our plan. Just keep him out of his game, keep him contained, and force him to pass.
How hard is it to keep a guy like that in? When you guys talk about your containment lanes in the pass rush, has been an issue the last 2 years. These guys have gotten away. How critical is that? How much? What can you guys do this week to focus on that so that people lose that containment while still trying to put pressure on?
Yep. We will always have a couple guys spying him, and it starts up front. Got to keep our pass rush lanes, and when guys are covered, he's going to run right away. So we just have to be ready for that. And the guy that's responsible for him just has to make the tackle.
When you look back, last year your run defense made really major gains from the year before. This year it slid back a little bit. What are you seeing as the difference? What are you not doing as well this year as maybe you were last year? What did you try to address in the bye week to fix that?
Yeah, we definitely. I think it was a lot of it was tackling. We have a few missed tackles each game, and this bye week, Coach Mack kind of wanted us to focus on us, just fundamentals. We worked on a lot of tackling this week, and overall, guys we just gotta hold our gaps and play sound.
You look at what these guys did to Southern Cal. How excited are you to go out and play a team like this? It's kind of got that put themselves in the spotlight a little bit.
Oh yeah, it's definitely exciting for us because if we stop them, then it shows that we can stop a high-powered offense with the quarterback that's an athlete, and yeah, we're definitely excited. It's a good challenge for us as a defense, and we're excited to go out there.
How much will it help you get Kevin Davis back?
It helps us a lot. We missed him last week, and yeah, it's just it's good to have Kevin Davis. Just when guys get a little banged up during the game, if guys get a little fatigued, he can play 3 spots. So he definitely helps us out a lot. And yeah, this week he'll be back and he'll be ready. So it's good to get him back.
Any part of you looking forward to enjoying or being the trip itself, going through the walkthrough with the Patriots and the trip itself?
Oh yeah, definitely. Guys are fired up about that. Just new environment. A lot of guys haven't been back that far east, including myself. So yeah, we're excited to go out there and have a practice out there and just experience it the whole time.
What's the farthest east you've been?
Colorado, because I'm a West. Oh, Alabama. Yeah. So.
You had to go a little bit south to get
Yeah.
But do you guys you get more fired up for trips like this? You compare it somewhat to the Alabama game. I know they were ranked number 1 at the time, but do you compare it to a trip like this? A big school, going somewhere different, completely out of the realm of where you guys have been before?
Oh yeah, it's definitely exciting to play an ACC team. A lot of schools out there haven't really seen a lot of us, so it's good just to get ourselves out there and show them that we can compete at that level.
How do you go ahead there? When you're going against such a mobile quarterback,
Mhm.
a physical quarterback, a guy who can do so many things.
Yes. Uh-huh.
How's that increase the challenge for the linebacker?
We just got to spy him. We'll always have like I said, we'll have a couple guys spying him all the time, and we just got to force him to pass. He's gonna have a couple runs, but we just got to contain that and try to prevent him as much as possible.
What did you feel best about the bye week? That you felt you got accomplished out of the bye week?
I think just getting some guys rested up. Like you said, KD's coming back and Ty's coming back. So it's just good to get some guys rested. And like I said earlier, just focus on us, get our fundamentals back down, tackling, just pitch and catch with the quarterbacks and stuff like that. And, yeah, overall I think it's just good to have a week to watch a little more film and rest up.
How much film did you watch?
I watched a lot.
Yeah.
Just I watched the USC game, obviously, and their game last week, and they're definitely an impressive offense, and I'm excited to play them. And I think it's good that we had an extra week to prepare for them.
What are the things specifically you see that just make him so dangerous?
He's fast. That's all I can say. He's just really fast, and he knows when to stay in, and he's not afraid to get out of the pocket if guys aren't open.
He's a guy that alters your pass rush, doesn't he? You really have to stay true to your outside containment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely, especially up front, the D-line. You can't just run by them, or we're gonna get gashed, create seams, and so just got to keep your contain. And we've been practicing that last week a little bit, and we'll start that this week too.
How much of a test is this going to be for your secondary?
Mm-hmm.
You got guys that love to come up and run support,
Mm-hmm.
good at coming up and run support, and yet at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
most of their passes come out of play action.
Yep.
Those guys take cheat that extra step or two up, and they're going to get beat. Just how
Mhm.
critical is it for them?
Yeah, it's critical.
Do that job.
Yeah, it's critical for everyone to play with good eyes. Coach always says that. Play with good eyes. Focus on your man, but you got to see if it's pass or run, and once you see that, just trigger.
Anything else, Ryan? Do you watch any more film of a team like this than any other team?
I always watch a lot of film, so I mean, with the bye week, I have watched a little more film, so yes.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Well, your test and
Hopefully you did well on your test.
Yeah, I think I